Hello people of the internet, welcome to episode 9 of Paint to Life, the YouTube channel where we take tiny plastic miniatures, throw some acrylic paint onto them, and breathe life into them with storytelling so that you might learn something new on the subject, or perhaps take them to use in your own campaign. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, and share this with your friends. It really helps support the channel. If you're a returning visitor, welcome back, friend. It's a good episode tonight, so let's get started. I'm GM Atank, let's get painting. Okay, let's get going. Last week we painted the young copper dragon that was Cuprum the Trickster. If you missed that episode, I'd highly suggest you check it out here. And I think you should. It was one of the most trending videos on all of YouTube in both red and blue states last week. Also tonight we won't be doing a Norzal's Marvelous Mini for the first time. I'm going to be doing the D&D Collector's Series from Gale Force 9. This is a multi-piece miniature. It's brand new. It's one of their new multi-part plastic series. It's 30 mils. I've painted a Gale Force 9 Mini before. It was called Desmir and Zalathar Shadow Dusk. It was not good. It was made of resin. It was just crap-tacular. It just ended up going in the garbage. Couldn't even put it together. The pieces didn't fit, so stay away from that. But if this is what they're moving to, much better quality this go around. Some of you may know who this is, some maybe not. But today we're painting a miniature taking from the D&D module Descent into Avernus. My group is currently playing this module right now, so I promise it'll be spoiler-free.
That's her on the front cover, the villain of the module.
But let's get into it. This is the story of Zariel. Throughout history, there's been a conflict going on between the law-abiding devils of the Nine Hells and the chaotic legion of demons from the Abyss. This conflict is known as the Blood War. The battle lines in this war undulate like a writhing snake. Every time one side gains an advantage, they lose ground somewhere else, and it trades back and forth since the beginning of time. Now, to the good fortune of the rest of the multiverse, most of the battles in this war take place on the first layer of the Nine Hells, the layer known as Avernus. Now, whether it's by cosmic chance or designed by a higher unknown power, the dark waters of the river Styx act as a pathway between these two layers, the Abyss and the Nine Hells. But thankfully, portals to other realms in the planes are not as common. The Blood War has all the characteristics of an eternal stalemate, in part because the two sides are so familiar with each other. Every time the Abyss belches forth some new variety of horror, the disciplined and well-trained legions of the Nine Hells reorganize, rally, and counterattack. The devils continually dream up variation on their attack strategies, only to be checked by the overwhelming chaotic force of the Abyss. Little true advancement ever occurs under the red sky of Avernus or whatever realm the clash takes place. Asmodeus is the ultimate ruler over the layers of the Nine Hells. He's an unmatched strategist and orator, and his competency and skills are unparalleled. See, for Asmodeus, the Blood War is not a trivial matter. He is well aware of the danger that the demon legions represent to the existence of the entire multiverse, his realm included. Meanwhile, on another plane, the seven heavens of Mount Celestia, which was a place of goodness, shaped by law and justice tempered by mercy, there was an impetuous angel named Zariel, whose task it was to observe the Blood War on Avernus. Now, Zariel is no politician. She lives to fight, and she bases her assessment of others based on their ability to fight, as well as how likely they are to use those skills. In Zariel's eyes, zeal and fury are as important to use as iron discipline and extensive training. Zariel was also fascinated by and loved mortal beings. She would enjoy just watching them go about their day and live their lives. It was kind of a hobby. While other celestial creatures were content to ignore the material plane, Zariel would find herself there quite often, making friends with pure, innocent beings. One such creature was a beautiful young girl named Rienne, who Zariel was particularly fond of, and she offered protection and guidance in the forms of dreams and music. Now, one night as a devil known as an imp was passing through town invisible, just looking to cause trouble, he caught a scent of Zariel's holy essence, and he snuck over to see what was going on. He caught a glimpse of her leaning through the girl's window, whispering into her ears as she slept. Now, when Zariel departed, the imp took her place and did some whispering of his own, and convinced her to sell her soul to him for 2 cows for her family. By the time Zariel became aware of this trickery, it had been too late and the girl had been dragged to hell. Zariel was devastated at this, so much so that she joined another group of angels in protesting the devil's ways, namely tempting mortals to evil and signing away their souls. The Celestials agreed to have a trial for Asmodeus, which Primus, the leader of Mechanus, the plane of law, agreed to be the judge of, as an impartial judge. Asmodeus' argument was that he did nothing wrong, and that he and the devils were consistently acting according to their infernal traditions in a lawful manner in service to the multiverse. According to him, mortals always had the choice to accept the bargain. The devils always held up their end of the contract, and if a mortal was to find a clever loophole, they would invalidate the contract and the devils would respect that. The angels presented their case one after another, and they were all the same, constantly highlighting the evils and the atrocities that the devils were responsible for. They were taking so long, Primus's patience was starting to wear out. Finally, he declared that he was only going to hear a limited number of angels' testimony. Now, after this pronouncement, Zariel started a bit of a tussle up to get to the front of the line so that Rian's case could be brought before the judge. This scuffle ended up turning into an outright fistfight brawl amongst the angels, and Primus was so offended by the lack of candor by the angels, he scolded all of them. Ultimately, Asmodeus was found to have not broken any laws in the infernal hierarchy of the cosmos, and he was allowed to leave without suffering any punishment. Now this incensed Zariel. She believed it was their job as angels to smite evil. She said if we gather all of our warriors from Mount Celestia, we could drive down into the nine hells and the abyss and destroy the entire lot of evil. So why aren't we doing this? Her superiors had to continually remind her that there was purpose in the affairs between the abyss and the nine hells, and that any attempt to interfere or adjust that balance would end in disaster. So after her repeated requests to join the fray were declined, she took it upon herself to leave Mount Celestia and descended to the material plane once again to the city of El Turil. Once there, the mere presence of an angel rallied the free people who were sick of being collateral damage in this pointless war. She inspired and trained an entire army of men and women, equipped them with silvered weapons and the finest armor. They would become known as the Hell Riders, and once they were ready, she catapulted them right into the center of the blood war as she led the charge through a portal straight to Avernus. The Hell Riders, with Zariel at their lead, were a nightmare for both devil and demon kind. Despite being an aggressive and accomplished negotiator, Zariel's greatest strengths lay with her tactics, her command of the battlefield, and the frenzied inspiration she could rile up in her troops as she led them into countless battles against countless numbers of devils. They destroyed entire legions together, and they felt they were untouchable. The rulers of all the other layers of hell watched this angel and her wrecking ball of an army smashing through and destroying things, and they were expecting Asmodeus' wrath to come down and smite this intruder, but he didn't. He recognized her from his trial and chose instead to watch his new enemy and learn from her. As she drove deeper and deeper into the hells, it started to take a toll on her followers. The personality of the troops started to change just from the sheer negative energy of the place they were in, the fact that they were exhausted, they had little rest, and they were constantly under attack or attacking things. Zariel prayed and beckoned for reinforcements from Mount Celestia, but none arrived to heed her cry for help. Ultimately, Asmodeus did meet her on the field of battle, confident in his ability to handle a single angel and her weakened army. During this combat, despite losing a hand, Zariel and her army fought on with increasing resolve, and Asmodeus decided he needed to try something different. He used his great telepathic powers to make contact with the minds of all of her soldiers. He offered a combination of power, gifts, wealth, and terror to each of them. Some of Zariel's warriors resisted and fought on, but for others, the temptation and horrors of the nine hells proved to be too great. They retreated through a portal Asmodeus opened back to the material plane, closing it behind them, leaving their comrades and their commander to a gruesome fate. The Hell Riders had been defeated. Asmodeus commended Zariel for her battle prowess and her strength of conviction. He offered her rulership of Avernus. She opted for death, but death was no option. You see, Zariel and her Hell Riders had destroyed so many devils through their conquest that there was now a vacuum, and the demons were right now pushing into Avernus to fill the void that had been left behind. Asmodeus knew that his forces were too weak and too scattered to be able to repel the invaders. The demons would destroy the 9 hells, and then the material plane, and then Mount Celestia, and all of the multiverse, were they not stopped. Only by swearing fealty to Asmodeus and the 9 hells could she restore the balance that she herself had broken, channeling her rage to repel the demonic invaders and continue the fight in the blood war. "This is what you are meant to do your whole life," Asmodeus said to her. She was so overcome with rage at the angels for not heeding her call for assistance, at the mortals for abandoning her and leaving her to die, and at herself when she realized that everything he said was right. So she accepted his offer. She is now the living example Asmodeus has set for all other crusaders who would rise up or bring aggression to him, that there can be a fate worse than death. Zariel, ruler of Avernus. So that's it. What did you think of today's episode in the story of Zariel? Here she is here for the shelf. Sneak peek, next week we'll be painting the Norzel's marvelous miniature, Black Dragon. Also, I now have a website, painttolife.com, and an Instagram account where you can follow me to see what I'm working on midweek. Also, I'll remind you this is a great time to pick up a brush and give miniature painting a try. It's a lot of fun. I've only been painting for just under a year, and already I'm the best painter on my street. Support your local gaming stores for all your paints, miniature, brushes, needs like that. Go on in and tell them GM Atank sent you. I release new videos every Saturday, and now with a slight change, the painting with commentary videos are going to be released on the following Tuesday. So you can check those out. Please again, if you like my content, subscribe, share this channel to help it grow. I really appreciate your help with that. Thank you again, everybody. I'm GM Atank signing off. Wash your hands, people. Thanks. Did you try it? Okay. Cheers. Cheers. Moisture. Moist, moist. That's why you gotta close the cereal.